New York City is home to the largest number of independent bookstores in the country. The city was home to over 300 bookstores in the 1950s, but in 2019, this number dropped to fewer than 80. In recent years, some are saying bookstores are experiencing a revival. My goal while in the city is to go to as many bookstores as I can. Not only is New York home to the largest number of independent bookstores, it is also home to the world's largest Barnes & Noble, and that will be our first stop. The largest Barnes & Noble in the world is located next to Union Square Park in Manhattan. This Barnes is 4 stories, which is absolutely insane. The first floor had a ton of tables and a wall full of special editions and new release hardbacks. This is crazy. But we started our journey at the cafe on the 3rd floor to get a drink after walking around all morning. I then explored the 3rd floor, which was mostly nonfiction with an emphasis on health and wellness, philosophy, personal growth, self-help, nature and wildlife, science, and literally so much more. I was shocked how many genres this store displays, and I had only explored 1 floor so far. I then went up to the 4th floor, which was my bread and butter. Of course, I stopped in the romance section first and soak up being surrounded by so much literature and stories about love and that were just unknown to me. This store had so many books, I couldn't fathom how many stories were here. There are literally so many books. They also had so many fiction books up here, it was insane. Science fiction, mystery, thriller, poetry, dramas, essays, classics, fantasy. Oh my gosh, I could spend so much time in just the fantasy section. And horror. Also, what horror book should be my first? I'm thinking a Stephen King book, but let me know if you've read any good horror books or what Stephen King book I should read because I've been wanting to get into horror. They also had a huge manga section, which was so cool to see as well. I've never really read manga, but I'm definitely interested in it because I love the show Full Metal Alchemist, so something like that would be cool to get into. They also had a huge selection of books in Spanish as well, which I thought was really cool. And then also on this top floor, there was a lot of US history, true crime, and social sciences books. I then went down to the 2nd floor, which was YA and the children's floor. They had so many YA books and then a lot of funny tables too throughout the store, but here especially that made me chuckle. They also had games, puzzles, and Legos on the 2nd floor, and then we finished off going back to the 1st floor and explored some of the hardbacks. My mom found this New York Through a Fashion Eye book that she really liked, and then I saw this Marvel calendar, which was cool. I honestly could have spent multiple days exploring the entire store, but we had other bookstores to get to. Our next stop was the Strand Bookstore, which was only a couple blocks south of Union Square, so it was a super easy walk from the huge Barnes & Noble. The Strand is a huge new and used bookstore in Manhattan. We were immediately greeted with a table of blind books as well as a book Christmas tree since I was there back in November. There were so many tables in the middle and then super tall bookshelves around the perimeter of the store. As a short person, I'm usually 5'4", 5'5" after I do yoga. There was no way I could even see some of the books at the top, let alone reach them. But I was on a mission in New York to find Play Along by Liz Tom Ford, which is a self-published author and indie author. I unfortunately was unsuccessful with that. We didn't spend too much time on the 1st floor, which had most of their fiction section. We headed up to the 2nd floor, which had a ton of rare books, books on art, photography, and fashion. I spent some time looking at photography books because I've been wanting to improve my photo-taking abilities. There was also this cool Nike book, and then on the third floor was a rare book room, but it was closed. And then we didn't really get to the lower level, but that had mostly nonfiction and nonfiction subgenres, but we just didn't have time to explore. But we did get a couple books that we were excited about. Okay, we just got back from our outing. I need to show you guys the books that we got. So the first one is my mom's coffee table book that she got, New York Through a Fashion Eye. It's the only book we got at Barnes & Noble. It's really pretty. And then we went to the Strand, which is a really popular New York bookstore. And I got this little pencil case just to put little knickknacks in. I got a photography book. It's apparently not in print anymore. Oh, they gave me a bookmark. Cute. I just want to learn more about photography, about my film camera. So I've been taking a lot of film pictures. And then my mom got Walk With Me New York at the Strand. And it just has the streets of New York, basically. Another coffee table book. And then, what is this called? A magnet. My mom got that. And then I got this. I don't know what it is. She said the name was on the receipt, but I didn't look at it. Slow burn rom-com set in NYC. I'm not sure. You can kind of see. I don't think I have this book, but okay. I've never done one of these before. Blind date with a book. It was cool. They had so many. Okay. It's blue. The cover is blue. Sometimes love just needs a little inspiration. The American Roommate Experience, Elena Armas. I read The Spanish Love Deception by her, and I didn't really like it. So, I'm gonna read it, see how it goes. Okay, interesting. This is our book. Not very excited about it, but it's okay. I think it's just because I didn't have a good experience with her other book, but maybe this one will be different. And it's set in New York City, so can't go wrong there. Those will probably be all the bookstores we go to today. Hopefully get more tomorrow. So we've got 2 bookstores so far. We ended up stopping at Rizzoli on our way to dinner, and oh my gosh, this bookstore was stunning. By far the most beautiful we had been to. The store itself was a work of art. They had a ton of books about New York right when you walked in, and honestly a pretty decent selection. It was the smallest store we went to, but it still had a ton of books, and it was just so beautiful. I could spend so much time in here. The vibes were amazing. I also love the contradiction in each of the stores we've been to in New York. Outside, you're surrounded by loud city life, and then as soon as you step in and close the door, they're usually playing some type of soft jazz, and the people are talking in hushed tones. So that duality of a bookstore in New York is my favorite. Here they had a lot of books on fashion and art, as well as a decent fiction section, and then they also had a back room for events, which was cool. And this was by far my favorite bookstore we had been to so far. It's day 2 and we still have many bookstores to go to. Last night I lied. Last night we went to a 3rd bookstore, so in one day we went to 3 bookstores, and we're gonna see how many we can get to today. I didn't buy any books at the Rizzoli's place, but it was probably one of the most beautiful bookstores I've been in. I loved it there. It was stunning, and it looked like they had kind of an event space in the back too, where maybe authors could come and give talks or readings. So yeah, that was really cool. Our first stop on day 2 was actually not a bookstore, but the New York Public Library located in Midtown on 5th Ave, and it was stunning. The marble, the ceiling art, and the architecture was absolutely beautiful. They had a ton of study rooms and even an exhibition being shown. We spent a lot of time here exploring and walking around. I took so many pictures of the beautiful architecture. I'm so happy we stopped here and would definitely recommend. next stop was the McNally Jackson by the Rockefeller Center, and it is my understanding that there's actually multiple McNally Jacksons around the city, but this was just the one that was closest to what we were doing that day. And this bookstore had 2 levels and honestly a really great selection of books. They also had a ton of literature from other countries, which was honestly cool to see and explore books from outside the US. The store was kind of laid out like a maze, and you could go from different sections where there would usually be a table in the middle, and then you'd walk to the next section and then there'd be a table in the middle. It was kind of like boxes, and I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed walking around here and browsing. And then also on the first floor they had people painting the window in the children's section, which was cool to see in real time, and I ended up getting my goddaughter a New York book here. So I'm obviously back home now, and that concludes this bookstore video. We ended up going to 4 bookstores and then the library just in 48 hours. On my Google Maps, I have saved probably over a dozen bookstores in New York City that I would love to get to when I go back. But for that trip, that's all that we got to. And what I really loved about the bookstores was how peaceful it was in there, and then just how much knowledge is in these stores and how unique each of them were from each other. It's so contradictory too, because you step outside and it's so busy and New York is loud and it smells, and maybe smells not pleasant all the time, but then you step into these bookstores and they have quiet ambient jazz or like soothing music on. So it's such an interesting dynamic to have so many bookstores in a city like New York, but I love the experience. So hopefully I'll be able to experience even more when I go back. But yeah, I loved getting to go to all these bookstores. Really loved how different they all were. McNally Jackson's was really like sleek and clean and cool, and they had a really cool kids area, and then with the people painting the window there was super cool to see happen live. And then the Strand, I'm just like amazed by how many books they have and how tall the bookcases were, how many books they have secondhand, new books. Like, it was really cool. The photography book I got, I think, is secondhand. And then but you guys, that Nike one, which I thought was really cool. And then Rizzoli's was just beautiful on the inside, absolutely gorgeous. It was probably the most beautiful bookstore I've been in. And then the New York Public Library was like stunning. I don't think I've ever seen so much marble in my entire life. It's literally a museum that you could walk around in for free. Absolutely beautiful. Barnes & Noble, 4 stories. How much knowledge that building holds. Wow. I understood decision fatigue when I went in there though, because I'm like, where do you even start? It's huge, has so many books and so many different genres and just so many things in general. But I loved it there. I loved all of the stores I went to, and it was just overall such an amazing time. I'm so happy I got to go there and film this video and take you guys along with me. I only got a couple books. I got the American Roommate Experience book, and then I also got this photography book because I'm hoping to buy my own camera soon, and I'd really love, I think this is technically, like, it seems like it could be used in like a classroom setting, so hopefully we'll be able to learn a lot about just general photography from this. And then also got the Streets of New York book. Every bookstore had a section of New York books. Obsessed with this one. It's so pretty, and like when I eventually get my own place and have a coffee table that I can lay this out on, this will be on there. But for now, it's just gonna go on my little nonfiction shelf. If you've been to any of these bookstores in New York, or if you have any good New York bookstore recommendations that I shouldn't miss next time, please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it if you did. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!